Good morning and a warm welcome to the distinguished speaker, faculty members, scholars, and participants joining us for the 7-day Faculty Development Program organized by the PG and Research Department of English, Faculty of Science and Humanities, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Kattapalattu. We are delighted to have you all as we embark on this virtual exploration of contemporary literature trends and devices. To formally commence our program, I call upon Dr. C.S. Arun Prabhu, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to provide insights into the rationale of the FDP.
Good morning, everyone. For the 7-day Faculty Development Program conducted by the Department of English, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. The FDP Contemporary Literary Trends and Devices emphasizes on the inevitability of new critical approaches to literature and language. The purpose of this FDP is to enlighten the academicians as well as it helps them to explore the gray areas in the field of research. The series of lectures by the renowned keynote speakers will feed your brain with immense knowledge. I request the participants to give their extensive support throughout the session. Thank you so much. Over to Ms. Priyadarshini.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to call upon Ms. Nindya, Research Scholar, Department of English, to give the welcome address.
A very good morning to everyone. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to introduce the keynote speaker, Dr. Joseph Ponniah, to the participants. Dr. Joseph Ponniah is a professor of English in Department of Humanities and Social Science at National Institute of Technology, Trichy. He will be focusing on challenges in research writing, overcoming the mental barriers for today's session. He has expertise in research areas like English language teaching, second language acquisition, reading, biolinguistics, genetic, and neuroscience of a language. He has published more than 40 research articles in reputed international journals, which are also indexed in Scopus, SCI, and ESC, which 10 papers are published in a Q1 journal. He has also co-edited a book titled The Idea and a Practice of Reading, published by Springer International. Under his supervision, 4 scholars have completed their PhD. He also serves as a Board of Studies member in different colleges and universities. I'd like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of Department of English to Dr. Joseph Ponniah for accepting our invitation and joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your gracious welcome. Now transitioning to our main session, I'm honored to present our esteemed speaker for today, Dr. Joseph Ponniah, Professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Science at the National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli. His insights will enhance the comprehension of contemporary literary trends and techniques. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Joseph Ponniah.
Am I audible to you? This
Yes.
is Joseph. Is it my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but then I have problem with connecting the camera. So if I have any problem connecting the camera, then I will deliver without the camera. But then I am recording this speech. If you want, I will upload that in the I'll give you the recording, or I will upload that in my YouTube channel. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Should I start now, or any other formalities are there?
So you can start, sir.
Okay. Actually, I always have problem connecting with this particular software. If it is my WebEx or something else, and I didn't experience any problem, but always I had problem connecting with this particular Zoom software. Anyhow, if you want the recording, I will share the recording with you. Okay. So, good morning to all. We teachers and researchers either build or motivated. I get some kind of noise elsewhere. Can you switch off all the participants' camera or microphone?
Sure, sir.
Yeah, you do that. Otherwise, and that will be interfering with that. Okay.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. As teachers and researchers, we are either motivated or compelled to write research articles, but for which we attend a number of workshops and conferences. But in the workshops and conferences, they teach us the mechanics of writing, how to write an abstract, how to write an introduction to a research paper, how to write a conclusion, how to search an article from the net, how to cite an article. So we are taught all these things. But then the actual composing is not taught to us. Research is actually a writing process where we have to use our knowledge, current knowledge. When we use our current knowledge, we also include, accommodate newer knowledge by reading books and articles. It is a creative and systematic work undertaken to increase our knowledge. The creation of new knowledge using our current knowledge requires comprehension properly. So in order to create, we read the writings of other writers. When we read, we receive new information. We receive inputs from different sources. But then, do we really convert those intake as input? Do the reading or the reading that we do really affect our knowledge positively? There are several factors that affect the knowledge both positively and negatively. Only when we know this, we can be a better researcher or better writer. When we read something, we accommodate new ideas. So when we accommodate new ideas, several factors that are really affecting the comprehension as well as the creation of new knowledge. Your belief on something will affect your knowledge. When you're reading something, if you believe in what you're actually reading, will really help you to create new knowledge. If you're not believing what you're reading, then that will become an effective filter. If you have a belief in learning rules of grammar for acquiring language, If someone says that learning grammar will really distort the acquisition of a language, and it will not really help us acquire the language, or it might distort the learning process. We won't accept the ideas conveyed by the person, and immediately we will try to reject the ideas, and we will reject when we reject the ideas, and that will not be added to the existing knowledge. So what we mentally claim as true becomes our knowledge. So if you don't accept, then that will not become the part of your knowledge. So your subconscious mind will not accept that idea. If your subconscious mind doesn't accept that idea, then that will not positively affect knowledge. So we may not know that such a kind of bias is operating on it, but knowingly or unknowingly, we fall a prey to that. We will be against, sometimes we will be against a person, a group, or an idea. This would actually affect our attitude, behavior, and our reading and writing experiences. So when we read something, we have to accommodate the ideas with the open mind. If we don't accommodate those ideas with open mind, then that will not affect the existing knowledge. So when we receive something, receive the idea, analyze it, evaluate that, then you decide whether to accept that idea or not. So without doing all these things, if you are prejudiced to particular idea, then that will not affect our knowledge, and that will not really help us to write better. Then sometimes even we might be believing without questioning the writings of popular writers. Just because a person is popular, we accept the ideas without questioning, and we offer a high criticism for such writers. When we offer high criticism for such writers, then we will be including those ideas into our writings without questioning. So we have to analyze and evaluate any idea before accommodating that with our existing knowledge. So belief will strongly affect our knowledge, and we have to analyze and evaluate ideas before we decide something. Next to belief, decision making will affect the creation of knowledge and the comprehension of knowledge. When you are reading something, you accept some ideas, you reject some ideas, and you partially accept some ideas and partially reject some of the ideas. So when we are doing this, and the accepted ideas will be part of your knowledge, and the rejected ideas will not be part of your knowledge. So decision making is crucial. If we do not have the ability to decide the important ideas that we are reading, that would negatively affect our reading experience as well as the writing experience. Decision making is partly innate, and it will be partly the environmental exposure. So if the biological system is a little weak in deciding something, then you have to get exposure to reading and writing more. Getting exposure to reading and writing more will really help us to build knowledge, decide something on it properly. Even after reading more and writing a lot, if you feel that you cannot come up with clear ideas, and you have a problem in decision making, in that case you can get feedback from other people. So even when getting feedback, be very careful. You should know well that the person who is giving feedback to is well informed, or if he is not biased to a particular school of thought. So only then you will get the ideas properly from other people, and that feedback will really help you. So language writing, developing writing and the creation of knowledge is partly innate and partly it will be the result of the environmental exposure. Then for developing knowledge, you have to get continuous exposure to something. When you get continuous exposure to something, you will acquire knowledge, you will gain knowledge, and the knowledge will really help you. But then when we try to read something, if there is no pleasure in an activity, and your brain will not allow you to continue to do that activity. So if you want to acquire something, you have to consistently work on the topic and then you have to set a goal. So the goal will really motivate you. So if you're not a consistent reader, fix a goal. What will really help us to fix a goal? If if we have the desire to achieve something in our life, every individual will have the desire to achieve something in our life, and you have to trigger that desire as a goal. So goal can be either conscious or the subconscious. If you are actually staying in a motivated environment, the environment will make you to fix the goal subconsciously. If everybody around you are writing more research papers, quality research papers, you will be somehow subconsciously motivated to write quality research papers. If the people who are around you or who are with you are not really motivated, then you cannot fix the goal subconsciously, but you have to take conscious effort in fixing the goal. And you have to repeatedly say that I have to write, I have to complete writing a paper within a month's time, within a week's time. So when you give a kind of reminder to your subconscious mind, this is actually auto suggestion. So you have to fill your mind with the positive auto suggestion, and that's how you make impressions in your cells. So when you make impressions in your cells by repeating the positive auto suggestions, these positive auto suggestions will really help you to fix the goal. Then one is environment. As I said, environment will help you to, positive environment will help you to fix the goal. And at the same time, compulsion will also make you to fix the goal. But then only when you repeat the goal often, and that will be stored in the subconscious mind and the impressions will be created in the cell. So when you work on a particular goal, you might have a feel that even after spending substantial amount of time in working on a particular topic, I don't get the desired result. You are really working hard, but then after working hard, you don't get the desired result. In that case, you must be very patient. Continue to do the activity. For instance, we place an ice cube in a room temperature of 19. So when we place an ice cube in a room temperature of 19, the ice cube doesn't melt. And they are increasing the room temperature to 20, 22, 23. But when it reaches the degree 26, and the ice cube started melting. So when they changed the temperature to 25 to 26, the ice cube started melting. So that doesn't mean that ice cube melts just because that you change the temperature to 25 to 26. Something already has happened inside the ice cube, and that really triggered the melting of the ice cube, and that is visible only when you change that to 25 to 26 degree. Similarly, when we work on a particular topic, you may not have your conscious mind may not access the kind of what you actually have acquired, but then you will have to wait for that breakthrough point. So once the breakthrough point is reached, and your achievement will be visible. So you need to wait for the breakthrough point, or else you have to analyze consciously the writing strategies that you followed, the reading strategies that you followed. For example, usually writers, particularly novice writers, when they read something very interesting, they will have an intention to extract that idea from the book, and then they will try to incorporate that idea into their writing. So when they extract the information and add that information into their writing, and the writing of the other writers will not sync well with their writing. If that doesn't sync well with their writing, then what happens? So that will distort the narration. So if you distort the narration, then again you will find, and the person will find it difficult to write or generate new ideas. So what we have to do is, when we read something, we have to read with an intention to create knowledge. We are not supposed to read with an intention to extract ideas and place that idea in our writings. We have to read with an intention to create knowledge. So once we read with an intention to create knowledge, we will be actively engaged in writing. We will take notes when we write. When we take notes, we are actually actively engaged in writing. And that will really prompt us to generate new knowledge. After reading, you are engaged with the particular concept. You think about that. And the subconscious mind is actually processing that particular idea. If the subconscious mind processes the particular idea, then after some time, when you sit for writing, and your subconscious mind might have processed the entire idea, and the subconscious mind will relate the new knowledge with the current knowledge that you already have. And when the new knowledge is connected to the current knowledge that you have, and the internal system will generate new ideas. That kind of experience you should have when you write something. So in this place, I remember the theory of Wordsworth, the poetic theory of Wordsworth. Poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. So he says, if he wants to write a poetry, he gets some kind of inputs from the environment, from the nature. He receives inputs. After receiving the input, then he is calm and quiet when composing that idea. So after receiving that input, his internal system might have processed that idea, and the processing of those ideas have really helped him to come up with a newer idea, and that prompted him to write the poetry. So that kind of reading and writing experience we should have. So if there is problem with a particular tiny habit of writing, you have to access that and you have to correct it. For example, when you drive, you first actually press the accelerator. Then after pressing the accelerator, you engage the gear lever. After engaging gear lever, then you press the accelerator. Then that's how you move to the second gear and the third gear. Then if you want to change to another lane, you will be looking at the rear view mirror and then play the steering wheel. Okay. So when you're doing this, tiny habits are involved in that particular driving habit. Similarly, if there is problem with one particular tiny habit, for example, instead of looking at the rear view mirror and playing the steering wheel to change the lane, without looking at the rear view mirror, if you first use the play wheel or steering wheel and change it, and you change the lever, and then you looked at the mirror, sometimes you might meet with an accident. Okay. Similarly, if there is any particular problem with a particular tiny habit in writing, you have to access that tiny habit consciously, then you have to correct it, as I said. So reading for information and reading with an intention to extract ideas. You have to read with an intention to create a new knowledge, and that will prompt your subconscious mind to process the information, and later you will be including that idea into your writing. When you include that idea into your writing, you will be coming up with a newer idea. This kind of writing experience we should have when we write something. Then we should have self-esteem when we write something. So when we habitually think something, that will go deep into the subconscious mind. So if you think positively, you will have more confidence. Your brain will work in a power saving mode effectively. You will be calm and quiet if you are very positive. Then you can work on a particular topic for a longer period of time. But then if you are negative about yourself, if you fall a prey to the destructive form of thinking, always thinking negative, always underestimating yourself, if you have the negative kind of thinking, that will seriously affect your reading and the writing experience. And if you say, I can't do it, I'm all wrong, it's of no use, there is no point in trying hard, I just can't write well, I couldn't get ideas. So if you repeat yourself with this kind of negative thoughts, then that will create a kind of impressions in your cells and you won't write well. And this is a kind of auto-suggestions, negative auto-suggestions. You have to replace that negative auto-suggestions with positive auto-suggestions. When you replace that with the positive auto-suggestions, you are actually guiding your thoughts in a particular direction positively, and that will give you the better result. For example, a girl who is a talented singer, she was invited for an opera production, music. She has to do an audition, but she is terribly apprehensive about her performance. 3 times before she sang for directors and she miserably failed. The reason was the fear of failure. Her mind is filled with the negative auto suggestions. She is actually a wonderful singer, but then when singing, she used to tell herself that I won't sing better. I will fail miserably. I will fail miserably. I knew it will be a failure. And such a kind of negative auto suggestions operated on her, and that prevented her from performing better on better during audition. So her subconscious mind accepted these negative auto suggestions as request, and it started to manifest in the subconscious mind and started to work. And she failed miserably. The cause was the involuntary auto-suggestion. And then she is able to overcome the negative auto-suggestions by countering it with positive auto-suggestions. She sat in a quiet room, then relaxed herself. Then she counteracted the fear suggestions with the positive auto-suggestions. And she started telling to herself that I sing beautifully. I'm calm and composed. So when she started telling this repeatedly again and again, and the author of the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, narrates this particular incident, and the researcher asked the person to replace those negative auto suggestions with the positive auto suggestions. So she started telling this to herself again and again for wait a minute. So she started telling this again and again to her, and that gave her a kind of confidence. And next time when she sat for the audition, and she was able to sing well, and she cleared. So when someone if you are actually filling your mind with the negative auto suggestions, that will not really help you to perform better on any task which includes reading and writing. So you need to check carefully what kind of negative auto suggestions are operating on us. Only then you should access those auto suggestions to the conscious mind. Then you have to remove those auto suggestions and you have to replace those auto suggestions with the positive auto suggestions. You may not know that even your parents, relative, friends, teachers, and the associate might be contributing to the campaign of negative auto suggestions or heterosuggestions. Heterosuggestion is actually suggestion given by the other people. So when you receive those suggestions without questioning, and that will start to operate on you, and that will give you a kind of negative result. So analyze the underlying meaning behind what people say. If it is really useful to you, follow that. Otherwise, just reject that. So look at the suggestions people make on you. They want you to behave in the way that they think. And that's how human beings are wired. So here, if you are filled with the negative auto suggestions, and that will negatively affect your reading and writing experience, then you have to trust yourself that you could create and generate ideas. If you don't trust that you have the potential to generate and create ideas, then attending too many conferences and workshops will never help you to write better. So you should trust that you can you can create ideas, and you have to enjoy the stimulation of new ideas. Only then you will get confidence, so you can write with confidence. And such a kind of positive thinking that we need want to achieve something in our life. Then when we write, we have to write with the calm and confidence. So if you are more anxious when we are writing, then we cannot write with ideal state of motivation. That will affect the biological system also. The brain can work efficiently when it works in a power saving mode. If you are more anxious, more energy will be spent. If more energy is spent, there will be more neural activities in the brain that will prevent you from creating new ideas. That will prevent you from creating new ideas, and you cannot work for longer period of time. So you have to be motivated, but then for which you cannot wait for the motivation to happen. If you just wait for the motivation and inspiration for writing, you cannot write anything, because writing is not a pleasurable activity. Only if it is a pleasurable activity, we will be motivated. Otherwise, we have to form some strategies to write. So first you write something, and then you get motivated. And that's how you have to start writing. Then since we are not motivated, most of us are prompted to write before the deadline. When we write before the deadline, if an assignment is given, or if we have a plan to write a research paper in a month's time, or in 6 months time, then we will be wasting our time for about 3-4 months. And then in the last 2 months, we will be writing with the breakneck speed. So when we write with breakneck speed, or we are actually when we are passively waiting for writing for about that 4 months, you are inviting a kind of block. Then after 4 months, if you sit for writing, you are writing with speed. When you write with breakneck speed, and you cannot come up with quality ideas, there will be a kind of anxiety when you write. You can come up with quality ideas when you're calm and composed. So when you write with anxiety, you won't get the quality ideas. That will negatively affect your writing, and you won't get that kind of momentum when you write on a particular topic. So when you force yourself to write, if you sit for marathon sessions for about 6 hours and 7 hours a day, that in fact will give you a kind of fatigue. you won't come up with quality ideas. So concepts don't evolve. So only when you're calm and composed, you will get the new concepts. You can work and you can work under peace of you can work with the peace of mind. You won't have any kind of pressure in you. Then even if you have potential to write, if you have such a kind of habit, you cannot come up with quality writing. And if you are not spending your time in writing and reading, then you are actually passively waiting to get motivation. Passive waiting will invite a kind of block. You have to involve in active waiting. What is active waiting? Active waiting is you should collect data, read some articles, have glance at some of the articles, collecting information. You should feel happy when collecting information. Then after collecting information, you read some portions of the article, and then you decide whether if these articles are relevant or not. Will that really help me to write better? So when you are actively waiting like that, you are knowingly or unknowingly, you are generating a kind of idea. You are coming up with a design. You will have the design in your. So once you have the design to write, then you are actually, when you sit for writing, you can come up with quality ideas. So you have to actively wait, and you should not involve in passive waiting. So when you actively wait for wait to write something, when you are involved in collecting information and processing information, you will start to think about the ideas that you're going to compose. When you start to think about the ideas that you are composing, then the subconscious mind will process the information. Once the subconscious mind is processing the information, you do not know that the subconscious mind is accessing details from your knowledge, and it will access details from your knowledge, will connect newer ideas with the existing ideas. Then all of a sudden you will come up with a wonderful idea. You would say that that I have come up with a wonderful idea, but then the ideas don't come all of a sudden. Once it is processed by the subconscious mind over a period of time, you will get quality ideas. So you have to immerse into active waiting rather than simply waiting without doing anything. So if you are involved in passive waiting, then that will negatively affect your writing. Then another factor that would affect the writing is the exaggerated views about writing. What is that exaggerated views about writing? Some believe that, most of us believe that writing can be managed quickly. It is a spontaneous process. And if you burden ourselves with this kind of emotional baggage, then again that will create a kind of anxiety. You cannot come up with quality ideas. Then writing is actually a composing process. Writing is actually a composing process. When we compose an idea, we have to think about the meaning conveyed in the text. If we are thinking about words and structures, you cannot come up with quality ideas. Human brain is wired to focus on meaning when reading and when getting exposure. If you are thinking about language structures, that would distort the reading process or negatively affect the reading process. When you write something, you have to use your felt sense. Only when you think about the meaning, you will have the felt sense, you will have the felt meaning when you convey an idea. You have to think about the meaning. When you think about the meaning, ideas evolve. Ideas come from the subconscious mind, and you may not know that what exactly you are going to write in the next sentence, but you will write something. You will write something after involving in reading for quite some time. when you start to write on the topic, you will have the felt meaning, and you have to respect that felt meaning. When you respect that felt meaning, you can generate newer ideas and you will come up with new knowledge. When writing something, there are some people who have the tendency to write it correctly in the first draft. That is not the right way of writing, because you have to give more importance to the ideas that you are conveying, not to the language. You always have time to revise the ideas. You always have time to edit the output, edit the writing that you are doing. So you are not supposed to think about the language when you compose an idea. When you compose an idea, if you think about the language, and that will negatively affect your language. Feeling for wrongness, we always should trust the feeling of wrongness, but then that should come when we are actually doing the revision. So when we have the feel for wrongness, for example, you have written a particular word in a context, you feel that there is some problem with that word. The word has come from you. You have already generated the word. But then if you just look at the dictionary and replace the word with the dictionary word, which means you are removing the word will have connection with the strings of words. The word that you have written will have connection with the strings of words, and the whole meaning will be lost. The dictionary word will not sit well in that particular place, and the entire meaning will be lost. So that will prompt you to delete the particular idea. If you are revising like that, you will be deleting most of the ideas, and at the end, you will come up with only fewer ideas, and that will create a kind of anxiety in you when you write something. So feeling of wrongness should be respected, and that will really help you to notice the gap. And the feeling of wrongness is a leverage for finding a better word. That's true. But then when to use the feeling of wrongness is more important. You have to do that only when you are revising, not when you are actually composing an idea. So feeling of wrongness is cause for hope, and it will not really discourage you. Then if you have a feeling for wrongness when composing, and that's a problem. Okay, right. Then when the feeling of wrongness is fills your mind, you will over and over again, you will begin to think about words, and you always will be thinking about words when you revise the idea. Even that will also distort. That will prompt you to take words from the dictionary, and you will start to judge the words by outer standards. So your inner feeling will not be conveyed in that particular word, and as a result, you won't get quality ideas. So feeling for wrongness must be respected, but at the same time, judicious amount of feeling for wrongness will really help you. But at the same time, you should not be deaf to that feeling of wrongness. If you are deaf to that feeling of wrongness, then we won't get the chance to improve our writing. Actually, when we think more about the dictionary word, dictionary cannot give you the complete meaning of a word. Dictionaries, even in the best studied languages, dictionaries will scratch only the basic properties of the language. Chomsky says, even in the best studied languages, dictionaries scratch only the basic properties of the language. And he gives an example. John is painting the house red. When you say John is painting the house red, what is the meaning of the house? House is a place where we live. And here he is actually painting the external surface of the wall. The external surface of the wall is considered as house in this place, and your brain is using the word house in this place. So you won't get the complete meaning of a word by referring to the dictionary, and you have to respect your sense for language, when you have a feel for language, and that will really help you to come up with a right word in a context. Okay, then there are some people, they always fight the badness in order to get excellence. Fighting badness really will not help you to get the excellence. Fighting badness is you always write something you will be more alert when you write something. When you always think about and the incorrect ideas, when you always think about the incorrect words and structures, and you are always thinking about the gaps in your writing when you write something. When you think about the gaps in your writing, when you compose an idea, that will not really help you to come up with quality ideas. You are not allowing the subconscious mind to generate ideas. Subconscious mind is more powerful. So you read something today, immediately after reading something, if you write on the topic, you will be generating a fewer ideas. Then after reading, you just give a break. Then actively engage in the ideas that you read. Then forget about it for about 2-3 days. Then after that, you just think about coming up with think about writing on that particular topic. You just have a design in your brain before you start to write. Then write on the topic. You just compare your previous writing with the current writing. You will certainly find the difference. In between, your subconscious mind has processed the information, and subconscious mind is more powerful than the conscious mind, and that will help you to come up with some quality ideas. So you have to trust the subconscious mind when you compose an idea. You may not know that what you're going to write next consciously, but you will get some idea if you allow the subconscious mind to work on you. Then many have the commitment to, and that, as I said, we have the commitment to get quality, but we push away all the bad ideas when we soon after we compose that idea. And we should not have that kind of practice, and we should not write with constant vigilance all the time. And you should not underestimate the power of the internal system. The internal system will really help you to come up with quality ideas. So we are actually, when we read something, we use our conscious mind to generate new knowledge. When we use our conscious mind to generate new knowledge, we analyze, evaluate, synthesize ideas. Then we hand over the ideas to the subconscious mind. That is automatization. Once we hand over that to the internal system will take care of everything, and you need not to worry about the problem in writing. So don't try to write in a state of vigilance all the time. This is a kind of defensive writing. Defensive writing will not really help you. If you are always engaged in the defensive writing, which means you have not realized the potentials of the internal system, and will not take the risk of writing complicated ideas. You always choose ideas that are very simple to write. You won't take the risk of understanding complex ideas. So the complex ideas won't reach the subconscious mind all the time. Only when you allow the subconscious mind to work on you, that will really help you to come up with quality ideas. Then when we write something, when we need to be creative and when we have to be critical about our writings. When you compose an idea for the first time, you should be more creative. You should not be critical about your own writing. If you are critical about your own writing, then that will not really help you to generate more ideas, because that will be the thinking critical thinking critically or even finding fault with your own composing process will not help you to come up with the idea. So initially you have to spend a lot of time in generating new ideas. When you write the first draft, don't think about the language at all. Don't think about words at all. Words will come to you. Your subconscious mind is generating those words. If the subconscious mind is generating those words, which means there are some meaning in that particular word. So you have to accept that when you write something, you say that you say this and that. This and that will have a different meaning. You are connecting this and that with a particular context. Then later when you revise the article, you can fix meaning for that this and that. You can fix meaning for that this and that. So if you delete that this and that immediately, then you won't get that idea. So initially you have to spend your time in composing an idea. Whatever the idea that comes to you, you just write. Have a design with you based on the design. So actively engage in writing. So actively, so as I said, active waiting. Actively wait for writing. When you actively wait for writing, you are collecting information, you are actually taking notes, and then you are coming up with a design. Have the design in you and then start to write. When you start to write, don't find fault with you. Go for the first draft. Then when you write the second draft, even when you write the second draft, allow the creative mind to work. Then you will come up with more ideas. Then go for the second draft, accommodate it, revise the idea. Don't think about the language at all. Think about the language when you go for the copy editing stage. So writers say that we need to spend at least 60 to 80% of time in revising the article. Composing is 20 to 30%, and revising is 60 to 70%. So you are supposed to go for more revisions. You are supposed to go for more revisions. So compose the idea. You have scope for correcting yourself through revisions. Then finally, when you go for copy editing stage, then don't allow the creative mind to work. Then think about the language. Correct the language. That doesn't mean that you are actually you have acquired a language consciously. So when you read something, you will acquire structures and words subconsciously, and the subconsciously acquired words will really help you to edit the output. So go for a revision and then um, come up with the final stage, that is copy editing stage. So 20 to 30% is actual composing, 70% is actual revision. But then we don't spend enough time in revising article. That's a problem. So we should have such a kind of writing experience. Then after editing, then you go for final stage and you can publish it. So fixing the goal so let me brief what I said. We have to fix the goal. When fixing the goal, you will be prompted to work on that. As I said, when fixing the goal, you will fix the goal both consciously and subconsciously. For example, my wife once came and told me that she has to speak of our people in English, people from other states in English. So her jobs demands that. Okay. Then I said you can watch some videos on how to videos on telephonic conversation. And she watched the video, and after some time, she threw the CD away, saying that it is not interesting. But then, she is trying hard to acquire that particular skill. And the goal is already fixed by the subconscious mind. She has to pick up the skill because the situation demands her to acquire the skill. So once it is stored in the subconscious mind, we will find some means to achieve the goal. So as I said, when the impressions are made in the cells, when the goal is fixed, we will find some ways to acquire the particular skill. Then she said the telephonic conversation, the CDs on telephonic conversation is not at all interesting. Then I gave her some books, novels. I thought reading novels will really help her to speak better. Then I gave some novels. She read few pages and flipped through rest of the pages. Then after some time, she threw the novels away, saying that it is not interesting. So the brain is really very complex. It will fix a goal, but at the same time, when we work on that particular goal, if there is no pleasure in an activity, the brain will not allow us to do that activity. Here, same thing happened. But then the brain will continue to search for some other ways to acquire that particular skill. And then she asked something else to me. Then I thought that she has the habit of reading Ramanichandran's novels. I asked her to identify some of the novels which have the themes of Ramanichandran. Then what happened? She started reading one novel after another. In 50 days' time, she completed 30 novels. She has the habit of knowing the end of the story before she goes to bed. So without knowing the end, she won't stop reading at all. Once she starts reading a novel, she will complete it. So what happened? Daily she started novels one after another, and that really helped her to acquire a language. And then earlier she used to get my suggestions to edit the edit letters. But then after reading these 30 novels, she didn't have any problem writing letters. I asked her, nowadays, do you write any letters or not? And she said, I don't have any problem writing letters after reading those novels. And then, so the brain has found some ways to pick up that particular skill, and that gave her a kind of pleasure. And even if you don't have any pleasurable material to read, after reading something for a quiet period of for some time, and if you could share that information with other people, you will get some kind of reward. So I know this particular concept. If I share the concept with other people, they really enjoy. That's a kind of reward, and that reward will give you a kind of a motivation, and that reading experience, that will become a reading experience for an individual. So usually readers will do more bedtime reading. Before going to bed, they used to read. Research says that most of the readers, people who have the habit of reading, will do bedtime reading. And when analyzed, they read before bed when they are more anxious. They are more anxious. So when they concentrate on a happy giving incident, that will prompt them to read more. And at the same time, when concentrating on and the activities that really give happiness, that will increase the serotonin level of an individual. Serotonin is a happy hormone that will work synergistically with melatonin. So when it works synergistically with melatonin, melatonin is sleep-inducing hormone. When it works synergistically with melatonin, you will get peaceful sleep. So the conscious mind doesn't know that you are depleted with the hormone serotonin, and that's the reason why it couldn't work synergistically with melatonin, and you don't get peaceful sleep. It is there in the subconscious mind, but the subconscious mind is driving you to read, concentrate on the happy and the activities that really gives you happiness. So you should not underestimate the subconscious mind. Once you underestimate the subconscious mind, then you cannot come up with quality. So if you want to write better, you should concentrate on you should trust your internal system. Internal system will do wonders for you. So let me brief what I said. Research is actually the creation of knowledge. So when we create knowledge, different factors will affect the knowledge. When you read something, if you don't believe in what kind of material that you read, that will negatively affect reading experience as well as the writing experience. If you do not have the ability to decide whether to accept the idea that you are reading, whether to reject the idea that you are reading, and if you do not have the decision making ability, that will negatively affect reading. Then you should work on something consistently to get better result. So in order to work consistently, you have to fix a goal, and the environment will motivate you to fix a goal. Even if you do not have the conducive environment, then you have to give auto suggestions to yourself that within 2 months time I will complete this article. When you repeat to yourself the goal, and the goal will be stored or will be stored in the subconscious mind, that will create impressions in the cell, and you will become a better writer. Then when composing, you have to all the time you have to trust yourself, and if you don't trust yourself, you cannot write with common confidence. You will have more anxiety, and that will distort the writing process. Then you have to learn something consciously. Then you have to allow the subconscious mind to work on it, and that will really help you to come up with quality ideas. Then you have to you should not be more critical when you write initially. You have to be more creative when you write initially, and later you can be critical about your ideas, and that will really help you to improve your writing. So I think these are the ideas that I shared. So if you have any doubt in that, you can ask me. We will have a discussion, elaborate discussion for about 20-30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Usually I don't have problem using my camera, but this time I do not know. I always have problem with the Zoom software. That's the problem. That's why I couldn't connect with the software, connect the camera with the software. So any doubt, or if you want to clarify anything on writing, you can. So as I said, by attending conferences and workshops on how to write a research paper will not really help you. Even if you attend hundreds of workshops and conferences, you cannot become a better writer. You should know what actually the factors affecting you, factors affecting both comprehension and the creation of knowledge. Am I audible to you or not?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah, you can ask the scholars the participants to speak, so that if they have any doubt, I can clarify that. So you can ask any question on reading and writing, your reading and writing experience. You need not to restrict that to on the ideas that I shared in the session. No question.
Dear participants, please unmute yourself and you can ask questions.
Yeah. Actually, many scholars will face this problem. When they read and they come across any useful information, when they read, they will immediately lift that idea, and then they will incorporate that idea into their writings. So when they incorporate that, the tone of the particular idea will be different from your tone. It won't sync well with your writing. It won't sync well with your writing. The tone of the other writer will guide you further, and you will deviate from your own narration. This problem most of the scholars face. The reason is, when we read with the purpose to extract ideas. We are not supposed to do that. Read something with an intention to gain knowledge and create newer ideas. Give some time, allow the subconscious mind to process that idea. Later you can have a design and you can generate the idea. So this particular small habit will affect the entire writing. So you have to identify such problems when you write. Just knowing about how to write an abstract and how to cite an article won't really help you to become a better writer. Yeah. Any doubt? Usually, at least 5, 10 participants will ask questions in all the places, but here no one has come forward. I do not know why. How many participants are there?
There are 82 participants.
18.
82.
1 8.
80.
80. If it is 82, then at least some have to come up with their queries. Because when people float more number of programs on how to write research articles, many will register. The reason is somehow they want to pick up the skill, but they do not know that they would pick up the skill by attending such lectures and conferences. This is actually the composing process that you need to pick it up. Yeah. Okay. Any doubt? Otherwise, we will wind up if they are not interested.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, may I know what is hetero suggestion, sir? Because you spoke in regards to that.
Hetero suggestion is actually auto suggestion is the suggestion that you give to yourself. Come on, you are a good writer. You are a good reader. You can do well. This is auto suggestion. Hetero suggestion is the suggestions given by other people. We may not know that, people would say that you can't write well. Writing is a spontaneous process, but then you don't have that skill. Once people started saying this, you will trust that you do not have the skill and you will accept it and you won't become a better writer later. So this is heterosuggestions. So you need to be very careful about the heterosuggestions. You cannot be aware of the heterosuggestions all the time. We do not know that how the heterosuggestions are operating on us subconsciously. So accessing those heterosuggestions will really help you to overcome the problem. Most of the writing problem or psychological cognitive issue. So that can be identified by an intervention, then you can easily become a good writer. But only then when you share your issues, I can give some solutions to that. I thought around 20-30 minutes people will be asking a number of questions. I could solve the problem. That's it. Why is professional tone always? Why is professional tone is always used in research paper? Professional tone means a research article, academic writing is something different than general writing. So in a particular field, there will be set of vocabularies and set of syntax. Okay. So only when you use those vocabularies and syntax, then that will fit well into that particular discipline. So the academic style is something different, but to acquire those academic vocabulary and syntax and structures, the generally people follow people teach them the vocabulary and syntax, but that has to be acquired subconsciously or incidentally or involuntarily by getting exposure to that particular kind of reading. When you read that, you will pick it up. You will pick it up and you won't have any problem writing on that. So the problem is we do not have enough reading on the particular discipline. And at the same time, we are not aware of what are the factors that are negatively affecting us. As I said, listed some of the factors. If you are aware of such a factors, and then if you continue to read, you will pick up the skill. So each discipline will have a different set of words and syntax. So that will differ. And this I could see in the chat box. How can I open the chat box then? Yeah, there are three. Yeah. Why is the professional tone always used for research writing? If you can also type your questions. Any question related to reading and writing?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, can you please elaborate on the feeling of wrongness?
Advice on?
Can you please elaborate on the feeling of wrongness?
I didn't, it's echoing. Advice on? Can you
Sir,
type
I
that?
written in the chat box. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Use the chat box and raise the question. I will. And there is one question. My query as a scholar is, I have committed myself with many work such as attending FDPs, NPTL courses, writing research paper, reading books at the same time, concentrating on my thesis. As you told, I have a lot of time frames and deadline for everything. Till now, I am doing well, sir, but it creates some anxiety if I couldn't finish the writing in allotted deadline, sir. Any suggestions to avoid this? Yeah. We always work under a deadline. That is fine. That will, to some extent, motivate us. But then when we work under deadline, you should have a proper schedule to write on that. The goal that you fix must be realistic. Once you have a plan to complete the thesis or a paper in 6 months time, and the work must be spread to that entire 6 months period. If you don't and then before fixing the goal, you need to think about the feasibility of completing the goal in that stipulated time. When you feel that it is feasible, then you fix the goal. It is registered in your mind. Then from day one onwards, you have to work on that. Otherwise, you won't get the desired result. The reason is, as I said, when you read for the first time, you get some information. So you have 6 months time. Start to do the work on the first day itself. Read something for about 10 days or 15 days. Then you can give a break. Okay. Meanwhile, your subconscious mind will process the information. So process and generate information. So you might be reading only for 10 days. If you do the same reading before the deadline, that is 10 days before the deadline, you won't get the quality output. So you will be more anxious. You will be more anxious. Till then, you said you will be attending some FDP program, NPTEL courses. NPTEL and FDP programs may not have anything to do with the kind of writing that you are doing. So you are attending those programs with anxiety that would help your writing. But then the actual reading experience, and when reading, what actually affect your knowledge, and you should be very careful about it. From day one, if you read something, if you give a break in between, break will be highly utilized by the subconscious mind, and when you complete the task, you won't have the kind of anxiety. But if you work with vigilance or with speed in the last moment, that is before the deadline, that will create a kind of anxiety. Have I answered your question, Divya Bharati? Then there are 3 more messages. I'll just read that. And can you elaborate on the feeling of wrongness? Yeah. Feeling of wrongness and feeling for language. Gut feeling, we say. When we write something, the gut feeling will prompt us to pen down that particular idea. Okay. Felt meaning. That is felt meaning. So felt meaning is the gut feeling. How do we get that gut feeling? The previous knowledge and the current knowledge that you are reading, that the reading that you are doing now will combine, and you will get a kind of gut feeling. Gut feeling will be by the subconscious mind. That's why you say that I get a quality idea now. I do not know how that came, but you are not aware of it. Your subconscious mind has processed that gut feeling. But when composing an idea, you will have the feeling of wrongness. Feeling of wrongness is you might be your mind may not, after writing that idea, your subconscious mind or the conscious mind may not accept a particular idea or a particular structure or a particular word. That is the feeling of wrongness. So feeling of wrongness is a leverage for hope. We should not discourage that feeling of wrongness. There are some people, they don't get the feeling of wrongness. When they don't get the feeling of wrongness, and a cognitive bias in psychology, they say that there are some people who do not know that they do not have knowledge. Know that they do not have knowledge. So you may not know that there is problem in the language. So the feeling of wrongness must be respected. But then you need to be very careful when that feeling of wrongness should be operated. That is not when composing. That's only when editing the output. I think I have answered that question. Yeah, I'll just go through the questions one by one. Academic style and structure in detail. Every discipline will have a different kind of language style. Every discipline will have separate set of vocabulary to use. Okay. When we use a set of vocabulary, and that will give you a different kind of style. That will give you a different kind of style. But then if you just memorize those vocabulary, or if you learn those vocabulary in isolation, when you create a meaning, and you won't get that desired meaning when you consciously use a word in a particular place. And that's why I said, when you create a meaning, if you are using some word, respect that. Then later you can think of editing it. Even when you continue to think about that, your internal system will come up with a set of word, and you will find difference in general language and the structures used in academic language. Then when is the right time to begin our thesis writing? Even after reading many books and articles, I find it hard to start writing. It's becoming hard to find coherence. So if you have, after reading books and articles, if you feel that you do not have a clarity in you. So you need to check the quality of the articles and books that you are reading first, whether those articles and books sync well with your overall design. Okay. So initially you have to spend some time, initially in the sense 3-4 months, you have to spend some time collecting data. After collecting data, you will be reading something on that. Then after reading something on that, you have to actively engage with the meaning. Then when you think about that, you will come up with the design. Okay. When you come up with the design, you start to develop the design. When you start to develop the design, you should not, that doesn't mean that all the time you have to restrict to the design that you have. You can deviate from the design, which means if you are deviating 20-30% when writing something, you are actually growing. And you use the word hard to find coherence. Why do you think about coherence in the initial stage? Throw the ideas. Okay. Complete the first draft. Think about the meaning, quality of the ideas that you are conveying. Later you can do a revision. As I said, when you write the thesis, you should go for 3, 4, 5 revisions. Usually scholars, they will try to write the thesis correctly in the first draft itself. That's a problem for anxiety and getting a better language. Writing is a composing process. Sir, you said writing is a composing process. Can you please give more insights on it? Yes. Composing, actually, when we write something, we compose ideas. We don't think about language at all. But then the system is prompting us to think about language. We just think about the idea. Whatever the word that we are writing, we should not bother about the words that we are penning down in the paper. Just to think about the idea. So you just you will have bits of 10 or 15 ideas, and you will be assimilating and synthesizing those ideas. A musician will compose the music. If he comes up with a wrong notation, and he will just change that. Similarly, we have ideas in us. We just pen it down, and then we just give a kind of a revision, or replace those ideas in different places, and we enjoy the idea that we are writing. Don't think about words and structures. Words and structures will come to us once you start to read more. Okay. This is the process. This is actually the composing process. When we compose, we focus on the meaning. We are not supposed to focus on language structure, because human brain is wired to think about the meaning when we are engaged with when we are creating an idea. We are not wired to think about language. So thinking about the meaning and generating idea is the composing process. Okay. Authentic, you should get, can you suggest some authentic books for improving reading skills on the UG students? Before thinking about the authentic text, you should have some amount of exposure to Krashen's theory, Krashen's comprehension hypothesis. So the text that we are reading should provide us comprehensible input. When we read something, we will have a few unknown expressions or words, and the known expressions will help us to fix the contextual meaning of the unknown expression. Okay. So when we read something, if that is providing comprehensible input, that is the text that you need to read for the acquisition of language. If you couldn't infer the meaning of the unknown expression, then that is not the right text to continue to read. Then you have to choose some other text. So that depends on the language level of an individual. Then another question. Yeah, this is the last question. Sometimes, even though I have ideas and have enough points to substantiate my argument, I find it difficult to, I know where, yeah. I find it difficult to organize and structure my writing properly, and I fear that would affect the quality of my writing. Sir, can you give me some suggestions to how to organize our writing properly and how to discard redundant ideas? So when you write something, as I said, writing is a composing process. You have your own narrative thread. You have your own narrative thread. So when you compose that idea, several factors will affect your writing. As I said, when you read something, some other article, and you will be prompted to extract the idea and incorporate that idea into your narration. That will negatively affect your writing. Similarly, there will be some tiny habits that would affect the writing process. We have to somehow subconsciously or consciously access the subconscious process and then correct yourself. And before that, if you feel there is no clarity when you write on that, then you have to seriously think about reading, getting more exposure on that. Okay. Even after getting more exposure, then analyze what are the factors that are really affecting the generation of knowledge, or what are the factors that are really affecting the comprehension. As I said, your belief about something, deciding what to accept and what not to accept from a writer. These are all the factors that would affect writing. So you need to analyze and bring that to the conscious mind and do the editing work, and that will really help you to write better. But then redundancy, as you said, redundancy, don't think about worry about redundancy in the initial draft. Redundancy can be eliminated at the later stage. Yeah, I think I answered that. So suggesting literary topics, that depends on the individual's taste. Okay, that's it. I think I have answered all the questions. Shall we wind up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable insights. Your expertise has added significant depth to understanding on challenges in research writing, overcoming mental barriers. As we conclude the session, I now invite Ms. Missy Thomas to propose the word of thanks.
Wishing a pleasant afternoon to one and all present here. Today was the first.
And it's not audible.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
Wishing a pleasant afternoon to one and all present here. Today was the first day of the 7-day virtual faculty development program, and I must say it started on a very high and intellectual note. My role here today is to express gratitude to everyone who had a part in making this day a huge success. As faculties and scholars who work on a lot of research papers and publication works on a daily basis, we go through a lot of mental reluctance and creative blocks into providing a fruitful and assertive paper. Today's discussion has been focused on the above topic, and my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Joseph Ponniah, sir, for addressing the same issue. His lecture has shed a positive light on how to overcome these mental barriers and challenges. Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge and simultaneously encouraging us.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank our HOD, Dr. Shantachitra ma'am, for helping us conduct this FDP and being a strong backbone to the entire venture. I'd also like to thank the coordinators, Dr. Arun Prabhu and Dr. Shalini Infanta, for organizing the event and ensuring its success right from the very first day. To conclude, I extend my gratitude to all who took part in the event, and also to each and everyone behind the screens for their effort and hard work in making today's workshop a success. Wishing you all a nice day and thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your heartfelt expression of gratitude. With that, we conclude the first day of the 7-day faculty development program. We look forward to the enriching session and collaborative discussion tomorrow. Thank you and
Thank you. I'm leaving.